All right, how's everybody doing? Right now, you guys will be seeing the screen. You see the title here. You can join in the chat section. I'm eating a meal, having my lunch while I do this video. So it's very informal. Psalms 119 says, "Consider my affliction and deliver me, for I do not forget your law. Plead my cause and deliver me. Quicken me according to your word." That's it. Seems very repetitive, the stuff I read all the time, yet I always get different meanings from them. Here, this is about deliverance. And every time he remembers the words of God, and he remembers what he did, how true he is to his word, he's able to realize how he can be delivered. He always goes back to what he says is God's law, or his law, which is his word, what he speaks. Now, like Jim Carrey and all these guys say, God is not a physical entity in terms of a he or a she. He's not. Since the convention is to call God a he, I use it. All it means is the one who's in control and has power. Male, masculine, father denotes one in control. That's why we use the masculine pronoun or the masculine noun. But in truth, God is beyond that. Much bigger. Okay, so deliverance and salvation. Not exactly the same thing, but something like that I keep on seeing over and over in these DCEU films. And when I mean over and over, I mean it's repeated motifs. There's that motif over and over. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you watch Superman, Man of Steel, if you looked at Wonder Woman, and you would look at Justice League, all three films are actually origin films. They're all three origin films, right? And you can see them in front of you right now. This depiction that I'm showing you is the three films. Man of Steel's at the top here, Wonder Woman's next, and Justice League. Let me just check in the chat section. You guys can always participate in the chat section. Hold on a second. All right, nobody in the chat section saying anything? Cool. I just clicked it to say I liked it. I like this video. I actually do that. I like my own videos. It's crazy. But I do that every now and then. All right, so let's get into what the DCEU is. It's a repeated motif I see over and over. It's not just arbitrary. I think it's by design. So in all three movies, let me just zoom in as much as I can. There you go. That's beautiful. That's good right there. Okay. So in all three movies, there's this motif. Let me show you one of the motifs. One of them is climbing a tower. Literally, climbing a tower is a motif in all three films. And as you see here, in Man of Steel, Clark Kent was climbing a tower. Hold on, can I zoom in a little bit more? That's good. Fantastic. All right. So if you look here, this is Clark Kent. And of course, when he's climbing this tower, it's a tower for the platform. This is an oil rig. It was on fire. It's about to explode. A notification about what was happening with the oil rig happened. The captain of the ship that Clark was on, he was known as Greenhorn, was notified that there was an Oregon fire. The ship owner was trying to go and rescue the people, and the guy in the helicopter, he advised him. He said, no, don't try it. The people probably in that oil rig are probably already dead. Okay. And that motif itself, already dead, is a motif we saw on Krypton when the head of the Kryptonian Council, she was speaking to Jor-El, and she said, well, you know, we can't evacuate the whole planet. That's kind of impossible. And Jor-El says, you know what, listen, the people here are already dead, but there's still hope for them, right? Well, similarly, the response on the radio, like I said before, there are repeated motifs, something being already dead, people taking for granted that people are already dead. So on the radio, the people in the helicopter radio back, but just making a pass towards the oil rig, and he said the people on the oil rig are already dead. As soon as Clark hears that, that's his signal to go check out the oil rig and see if anybody's alive. And he dives in the water, and he can super swim and everything. So he super swims across to the platform and starts climbing it by digging his hands into the walls of the old oil rig platform. As you can see here, this is a metallic, or maybe a concrete platform. I think it's metallic platform. You can see the different depths of the sea here notched into it. And you can see that Cal has started to dig his hands into the platform and his feet as he climbs it. And he's climbing the walls of the rig tower to save the oil workers that are trapped in the tower. But in order for him to get to the oil workers, he must climb the tower. The theme here is climbing a tower. And we'll see it over and over again for different reasons and purposes, but yet you'll see it over and over again. And there's a significance to that, I believe, that we can apply in our daily lives. There's a metaphor behind that. I'm going to show you what it is. And I'm just going to repeat the scripture again that I read, because it's very important for you to understand the context of this whole thing. It says, consider my affliction and deliver me, for I did not forget your law. Plead my cause and deliver me. Quicken me according to your word. I want you to remember that scripture, because it literally applies to each and every one of these things we're talking about. Like I said, it's about deliverance. Now, someone had to climb a tower. Now, each of us is given a tower of affliction sometimes. We are given difficulties, challenges, things we have to succumb and climb out of, right? But there's always a purpose behind that. So let's get into what we're doing here, because this is all about communities, in my opinion, and it's about helping communities. It's not just about talking about a movie and deifying characters. I don't really care about that. Their skills and abilities are for a purpose. And so here, Clark uses his skills and abilities here to do something that people have already dismissed, that these people are dead in the tower. Clark is not he's not taking that as an answer. And he is right now climbing the tower to get to the axis of these people to save them. And he goes through fire to do so. All right. And there's a repeated motif, not only in the DCEU, but we see it translated to Krypton. Through fire, we are reborn. Remember that? And so that theme is also here, even in Man of Steel. Now we see it started off first with Krypton's death through fire. Superman was born. The Kryptonian generations were continued. And then multiple times we've seen this theme over and over and over in the Superman story, which is throughout the DCEU. But now we're looking at here where he's got to save these people. He has to go through fire to save them. Okay. And one of the difficulties he had to encounter was trying to climb a tower to get to them, which was almost impossible. But thankfully, he had the gifts and abilities to be able to do so. Like I said, deliverance according to your word. You need to have a certain power to be able to do these things. And Clark had otherworldly power that he acquired from his father genetically. Similarly, Jesus had that otherworldly power to empower himself to make it through that fire, to climb that tower, to save us, who are the people in the fire, and then gave us that power, which is otherworldly power, so that we could do it for other people. Now, that same story I just said is actually the same story we see at the DCEU. So let's keep it moving. So we're going to look at Wonder Woman next. Notice, this is before he was known as Superman. He had not declared himself to the world as Superman. He was doing this, right? Let's look at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was 100 years before Superman even existed, or roughly. Well, I mean, when she came to the known world, but before that is way before 100 years before he existed. The important point here is that Diana also is seen climbing a tower. And she climbs this tower by almost a similar mechanism as Superman. She digs her hands into the walls of the tower. The tower this time is made of concrete, not metal, but concrete. And she's digging into the tower and climbing it. This is after she almost fell from the tower. She discovers she can climb it. Now, what's also interesting about this now is her purpose behind it is to get to the top of the tower to get certain tools she needs for a mission of salvation, a mission of saving. She wants to save the world, save mankind of the world, particularly from Ares. And these are the only ways to climb this tower to get the things that she needs to get. So the first thing we learn is adversity and difficulty comes to us so that we can save other people. But here now we get more specific in Wonder Woman, even though more than 100 years before Superman. And in this case, she is going through a challenge, difficulty. She's climbing a tower to attain gifts. She's attaining gifts so that she can save people. So this is a little bit of a expansion of what we saw in Man of Steel. So it expands it a bit. The theme is expanded a bit. Again, a lot of themes in these DCEU movies. And so in this case, Wonder Woman now, she realizes her gifts and skills as she's climbing the tower to attain more gifts and skills at the top of the tower so that she can continue her mission. Whereas Superman did not know what his purpose and mission in life was when he was Clark Kent here. He just naturally started helping people because it was inherent in him through genetics of his father and just the way his father was and how he was raised to help people. Wonder Woman knew what her mission was. And so it was about her acquiring the tools for her mission. Now, that's two different kinds of people in this world. Both of them will be in a similar situation to what we as people experience, affliction. And so affliction doesn't just come out of a void. Affliction comes in a way to, again, help us climb this tower for various, so that various abilities and skills and gifts will come out. And usually the tower looks insurmountable because we have not yet used our super strength and our super abilities or gifts that we have been inherited. We haven't flexed those muscles yet. And so it's important for affliction to happen to us so that we can flex those muscles, so that we could actually climb that tower. The goal of the tower, climbing the tower, is sometimes to save people, as with Clark Kent. Sometimes the goal of climbing the tower, in the case of Diana, is to get more gifts so that we can save people. Okay? So I want you to understand that and remember again, I'll repeat it again. I want to repeat Psalms 153 and 54 once again, so that you can get this. I want you to understand it. I want it to stick in your mind. It says, consider my affliction and deliver me, for I do not forget your law. Consider my affliction. Deliver me. I did not forget your law. So he understands that the affliction is so that I can be delivered from it. And he remembers the words. And he remembers the power of those words. And he continues, plead my cause and deliver me. Quicken me according to your word. I want you to remember that, because I want you to see how this all fits into the big scheme of things, right? Whether you're whatever persuasion you are, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the principles I'm speaking to you right now. Okay? So let's go on to finally. Oh, this is a mistype here. I didn't even realize that. That's too bad. Now we talk about the Justice League. Now this is oh, by the way, this was before Diana was known as Wonder Woman. So all of these things are before they become known as what they are. Okay? I want you to understand this because, again, this is all important in the scheme of things. You see what I'm saying? Now here we have a very similar situation, but this time there's a multiplying effect. This situation happens way after Wonder Woman comes into existence, way after Superman is declared to the world, and even after he's died. He's died now. And in this case, we're dealing again with our heroes, this time climbing a tower, but this time they have an instrument to climb the tower. Batman's instrument, which is the Nightcrawler, but Batman's not driving it. It's Cyborg driving it. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Cyborg driving the Nightcrawler. Batman's on the back of the Nightcrawler, along with the Flash and Wonder Woman. And they're being towed up this tower to safety from the flooded waters below. They're climbing again a tower. They have to get to the top of the tower. They have to get out of the tower. But this time, this tower, this venting tower, is to get them out from the pits of hell, from underground, where they were dealing with the demon, which was Steppenwolf. Let me explain. So, when we were looking at Man of Steel, we were looking at in the time of Christ. When we were looking at Wonder Woman, we were looking at before Christ, the BC times, the Old Testament. Understand what I'm saying? And now, when we look at AD, which is after Christ, post-Christ, we're looking at the Justice League. We're looking at this time here. And this is before they became the Justice League. What do you notice about this? There's cooperation. The Nightcrawler is Batman's Nightcrawler, but yet, at the same time, he's not driving it. It's Cyborg. Batman and the Flash call Wonder Woman. Aquaman protects them so Wonder Woman can jump on board. The Flash is hanging on for dear life. Batman's trying to make sure that the Flash, he helped the Flash up on the Nightcrawler. It's Batman calling. They were working together to climb out of this wall. And my final thing has to do with the fact that each one of us is a piece to help each one of us climb out of a wall. There's different gifts people have. And when we use the different giftings from different people, we can again surmount the affliction. Affliction comes for us to also work together. So, one, affliction is there for us to discover our gifts and talents so we can mount the affliction and save people. Two, affliction comes so that we can discover our gifts and use those gifts later on to save people. And three, affliction comes so that we can work together, combining the different gifts we have so we can surmount the affliction and challenge and therefore save people. All right? And it's a multiplication effect because this is post Wonder Woman, post Superman. In the time of Wonder Woman, it was just one person was climbing the tower. In the time of Superman, there was kind of a reemergence of the heroes, and just one person was climbing the tower. But now, post Superman's death, post Wonder Woman, now we see a bunch of people climbing the tower, working together. And I say to you, it symbolizes the three different eras I see it as, in my understanding of it. And the same scripture I just read to you is interpreted in three different ways. First, we talk about the God in you and your deliverance from that. So I'm just with them. Then we talk about the God that is working through you. And then we talk about the God working through other people and you. Different. All three are different. Okay? And so what adversity and affliction allows us to do is to reach beyond things that are above and beyond ourselves, but yet we ourselves can use. And we can work together as a community that way. It's all about community at the end of the day. And so I thought that this is a nice way to show that. And just to elaborate on that theme of community a little bit more, I want to share with you guys something else. Let me just come out of this to see what you guys are saying here. Hold on a second. Dave Ethan, shout out to you, bro. I know you're at work right now. I'm going to work myself. I'll be out there in a minute. Hope all is well with you, Dave. Shout out to Dave Ethan. So that's what I see in this imagery. And it's very interesting how the imagery is very similar. Okay. Very similar. Let's move on to this one, which continues on the same sort of vein in terms of community. In both cases, what is interesting to me is that there's sacrifice, almost at the expense of the person who is doing the sacrifice. So, for instance, you see this parallel in both Man of Steel and Justice League, where a hero is overtaken by the challenge and the threat. The threat actually beats the hero ultimately, or overcomes him. But in so doing, the hero holds back the threat just enough to save all the lives that were at risk by that threat. And I find that very interesting, because the hero's shoulders are strong enough to take the challenge. The hero actually ends up, even though he's overcome by it, he's able to survive the challenge. Now, I find this even more interesting because, again, this is symptomatic of Jesus Christ and what happened with him, and etc., and how he was annihilated, and yet he was not. But besides that, it reminds me of us sometimes and the sacrifices we take. We take one for the team, as we say, so that the majority of people can live. So what's the difference between one life versus many? If one life can save many, then that life was worth it to have been given, that kind of thing. Now, this is about self-sacrifice. Now, it's amazing that people talk about Infinity War shows great examples of sacrifice. No, Infinity War does not show great examples of sacrifice. And I will continue to repeat, that is not what sacrifice is about. Sacrifice is where one individual or a group of individuals sacrifice themselves purposefully and cognitively. They decide to sacrifice themselves for a cause. That is sacrifice. Okay. And the DCU has a lot. And the most recent DCU output was Justice League. And we saw that there. And we also saw it in Solo. We saw it in The Last Jedi. We've seen it in Wonder Woman, where Antiope sacrifices her life to save Diana, and so on and so on. And so it's very important for people to understand what sacrifice really is. So let's show you. And I find it very interesting. One person, when I showed this meme to them, they were like, man, I had goose pimples when I saw this. And the first one I'm talking about is in Man of Steel, where Clark Kent, aka Greenhorn, he tries to hold back a falling tower. The tower was falling, it exploded, it was falling, and it's going to fall on a helipad. And so Clark jumps in and tries to stop the tower from falling. All right. And the second example that it's basically going to be compared with is the scene where we have this underground tunnel. A missile is used, it's blown through the tower, so the underground tunnel, so that water from the river, the harbor, is pouring into the tower. It's going to drown everyone. And Aquaman comes in and he tries to hold back the flooding of the tower. All right. Both instances, we see are both heroes, and they're trying their best to hold back the imminent threat and danger to other people. All right. Other heroes. The guys who come in with the helipad to save these people from the helicopter, they're heroes, as well as, the well-known comic book heroes, the Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, and Batman. They're also heroes, right? So what happens? Well, what happens is we see that Superman is able to hold back in Man of Steel the falling oil rig tower from falling in on the helipad just enough for the helicopter to get up and get out of the way of the falling tower. All right. And if you look here, I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe I'll blow it up a little bit more. You can see Superman holding up the tower there. You know what was so cool about this shot when I watched it in the movie, and I watched it several times, is because they literally show you the tower falling in and crushing down on Kal-El. They literally show you all of that. I don't know how they did it with special effects, but it was really awesome. And the thing looked real as day. Similarly, they also showed you the water knocking Aquaman down and then just flushing over him as he could not withstand it to hold back all that water. But there was the top of the tunnel fell through and the water to the pressure of the water coming in fell through and just flooded out Aquaman. Okay, and similarly here, this tower, the metal started to bend because it started to melt, and as a result of that, the whole tower just broke away on Kal-El and just fell down, collapsed on him, collapsed on the helipad, as you can see down here. Everything just went up in a big ball of fire, but the helicopters, you can see, got clear out of the way of that. And similarly, the Lee was able to, the water flood through, hit the Nightcrawler, started it floating, but most of the Lee was on top of the Nightcrawler by that point in time. And it washed slammed the Nightcrawler into the wall and was able to grip onto the wall and climb out. And so they escaped, as well as the people here. But most importantly, our heroes, they were just like annihilated, literally annihilated. But they were able to take the pressure. Aquaman comes from the sea. He's very, very strong. Superman, or should I say Kal-El, he's very, very strong as a Kryptonian. And so even though the whole platform fell down in a metal and smoke and stuff, he didn't actually get cut or anything because his skin is extremely tough. His organs, his body is extremely tough. He comes from Krypton. So you see him in the water, just kind of floating in the water. But to me, it was just so impressive. It was so incredible to see that, you know. But the point is, in spite of all that disaster, I mean, this would have been sudden death for either of these guys if they were humans. It's just amazing how they took one for the team, shall we say. They sacrificed themselves. And what's interesting is both Kal-El and Aquaman did not know the other people, the other heroes in the story. I find that very interesting that we have these parallels that we see all the time. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I don't know who is on a lunch break or whatever, but I wanted to share with you guys because I think this is something worth, again, sharing. So I was talking to you guys just now about climbing the tower, dealing with affliction, and how you can use that because you overcome this affliction. You can, and you have the gifts and tools. You can teach other people how to overcome those afflictions and other things. But more importantly, sometimes you have to take one for the team. That means you may have to go down so that the other people can continue to share and bless other people. And that's not necessarily the most savory thing for people to think about, but I'm just saying, usually you won't go down. You will always come back anyway. But at the same time, it doesn't matter what happens to your reputation or whatever. I look at Colin Kaepernick, for instance. This guy, he tried to do a good thing, and he's been vilified for it, and he can't get a job for it. He's taking one for the team because for the better good, he may go down, but a lot of other people might benefit from that one action that he took, and in the end, NFL and etc. And so my point is that sometimes you have to do that. You have to step out on a limb and do what you know is right. You have to do the right thing, and you may be the one that has to take the fall for everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's still worth it if all the lives that were at risk of this thing are saved. And so I say Colin Kaepernick did the right thing, and if he was to do it all over again, probably he would do it the same way, because in the end, it brought light. It brought a lot of people in the public eyes. The sport now and the sporting world said, no, we have to bring this to light. And it showed the brutality and the excessive violence towards Black people and the indiscretions to minorities. Now, I'm going to be a little bit real with you guys again, because I feel it's up to me to be real. I always hear people talk about white trash and white trash and white trash. I'm tired of hearing that. You know why? Because, again, that is putting people into what we call stereotyping people. If people are born in poor, poor conditions, and they end up in poor conditions, that's not a reason to vilify them. Another thing I hear people talk about, oh, hillbilly this and hillbilly that, country folk. You know, some of the smartest people in the world are country folk. You know, some of the most successful people in the world are country folk. You know, and they vilify these people, especially if they're white. They vilify them, and I'm not happy with that. You know, I gotta be honest with you. You know, let's be real here. Let's be fair in this world. All right, you can't be calling people white trash because they happen to be poor or trailer park trash. I hate that. I hate when people say that. Besides that, there are some nice trailer parks. There are sophisticated people who are farmers and country people. You know, I feel like those stereotypes, they have no place in today's society. I'm not talking about racist people now. There are racist people out here who come from the countryside and they just blatantly racist. I'm not talking about those people. Okay. Why is it someone has to be made fun of because of their way how they talk, or what they do, okay, or where they live? That's the thing I never got. It's okay if you white and you in the city or your suburbs, or you're in a town and you look well to do, but because you in a trailer park, you trailer park trash all of a sudden. You know what I mean? I never got that part. Never got that part. Because you are up in the mountains and you do your thing up in the mountains, you a hillbilly? I mean, come on now. I mean, and these are some of the things that I don't truly appreciate either, And so I just talk about these stereotypes as well that are accompanying certain people. Racism is one thing, but then again, you have these other stereotypes of people, and I think we need to get past those stereotypes. It's time we start to see people for who they really are. And then again, things are hard. So people are trying to get by. If people are trying to get by, why would I now try to vilify someone just based on where they live or what they do? Okay. And if they're addicted to drugs, heroin, whatever, then that's not cool. So we don't vilify them for that. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're pushing a racist ideal, or you are racist in your heart, that's a totally different story. We call you out on that because you're racist. But if you can't just judge someone based on where they live and what they do. I don't feel that's fair. Especially if they may be doing things you would never do in your lifetime because you couldn't do it. You couldn't live under those conditions and make it by. And these people are making it by under tough conditions. So I think it's only fair, that we don't look down on people, because if we switch positions, we wouldn't survive in their position. We wouldn't. And they probably would survive better than ours. So I mean, I just think it's just fair. I thought about it and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put that in this video, because I think that it's one of those things. I don't like it. I don't like when people do that to other people. And there are some really awesome people, man, out here. But because of stereotyping, we'll never, certain people will not get to know them or see them and see how good these people really are. So I just said that. I put it out there because I'm tired of hearing, certain stereotypes about people that it ain't helping the situation. It ain't helping bring people together, if you understand what I'm saying. There's a difference between races. I'm not talking about people who are racist and they may be whatever from trailer parks or whatever because they're racist. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people who in trailer parks, they want a piece of the pie just like everybody else. They trying to catch a break like everybody else. They're trying to work hard like everybody else. Okay, just like people in ghettos. All right, we got people in crime busted ghetto areas who they're trying to get by like everybody else. They're just trying to do the right thing. They're just trying to get their job. They're just trying to work hard. They're trying to do. They're decent people in these areas. It's just that, again, we got decent people, but we got the stigma attached to these areas because of those racist people, or because of those people who are up to no good. They're just in crime and they're just criminal people, and they don't want to change the way how they live. They like it just the way it is because it's working for them that way. Okay, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the people who are decent and they get this stigma attached to them because of where they live, the demographic, the workplace, and they're decent people. And you know what? For the most part, I will say this. For them, again, I truly believe this. For the most part, the average person is decent. No matter what their status, they're decent people out here. But the conditions under which some people live are very difficult. And that's what people don't get. What are you going to do if you can't get work? Then you try to employ yourself. You try your best. You sell some stuff. You try to hustle, and you try to stay clear of drugs and all kinds of stuff. But sometimes some people get involved in drugs and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't intend to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to understand these things. And I think as people, we have to, like I said before, we have to work together, see what's the problems and try to work together. We must be empathized with one another first. That's the only way. You got to communicate. We got to keep the dialogue going on. We got to empathize with one another. Anyways, guys, I got to go. I just want to see what you guys are saying in the chat section here. Dave Ethan says, kind of like Jim Crow in the old days. Yeah. You talking about that racism stuff? Yeah. But again, like I said to you, Davies, and I'll make the point again that I'll make this point again because I think it's a very important one. I don't believe that separating people helps anything. I do believe, this is what I truly believe, and I think this would really help out the situation. I believe people must have a certain degree of identity, at least an understanding of their culture and where they came from. So, for instance, the people who live in, countryside and stuff, country folk, they're cool people. I've been in the, in the Midwest area, and they're cool people. Actually, they're very honorable people, like to work hard and everything. And for me, in my personal opinion, knowing that and knowing what your generations were and all of that stuff, it's really cool. Your cultural identity is cool. Understand what I'm saying? Similarly, if you from wherever in the world you were from and you speak that language, whatever, that's your cultural identity, and you may want to be around people you're comfortable with. So there's nothing wrong with that. I always feel it's not racist to want to be around your own people, desire your own culture, and enjoy people you're most comfortable because you grew up in that environment. So you love to be around those people. There's nothing wrong with that, people. Not one thing's wrong with that. If you want to get a little shindig going, you got your Jewish friends, you're a Jewish person, y'all have your little Jewish something going on, that's cool. If you from the countryside, you country folk, want to have that country hospitality, and you get your shebang together, and you guys playing your banjo or whatever, shindig, whatever, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Get it on. You don't have to have black people up in there. Not everything needs to be diverse. You understand what I'm saying? There is a time when people need the time to be around people they know and the culture they know, and relax and chillax on that. Okay. But it's beautiful also to mix and learn off of each other's strengths. You know what I'm saying? So yes, it's nice to have familiarity and nice to be around people you're comfortable with. But also, you shouldn't want to debar from mixing in with other people and their cultures and what they have to bring to the table. And that's all I'm saying is a balance. There's a balance out here. Of course, I don't think, if country, okay. Some people will say, man, I died for a piece of sweet potato pie. They ain't tasted sweet potato pie in years. And they get a really good cooking of sweet potato pie, they go nuts over that. Why? Because it reminds them of their past and their childhood and blah, 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 blah. For me, I come from the Caribbean. So, a good starch mango, I taste a good starch mango, send me back home. You know what I'm saying? Certain things, you want to identify with what you grew up with. So I don't have a problem with that at all. So if you come from the countryside and you like that, you come from the city, you like a certain, I'm saying that's good. And if you want to be around people from that, your past, your childhood friends, whatever, that's good. But what kind of caused the Jim Crow days and segregationism is that people tried to hold on to a lifestyle and they were inflexible to change and cultural diversity. Ain't nobody tell you don't stop doing what you understood from your childhood and enjoy those things you enjoyed from your childhood that were good things about your culture. But you should allow for your culture to modify and to move forward and to have other things happen. The nostalgia of the past is not necessarily a bad thing. That's what I try to explain to people in the United States, America, and worldwide. There's some good things from the past. People were hospitable. They used to say morning. People were polite. People had values. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a problem when, in order for you to force back the nostalgia of the past and the privileges and all of that stuff that it comes with it, you want everything to be so, and you want other people to suffer because of that. So you prefer the days when it was slavery because you was in charge, you had all the resources and everything, and you really think it's better then than it was in the days now where everybody has seemingly equal opportunities to do different things. They don't really, but that's another story for another day. And it gets complicated the more we talk about it. And my point is this. It's a very simple point. My point is that some people get locked up too much in nostalgia and really think that the past was actually better than the present, forgetting all the perks and all the good things about the present that are, and the opportunities of the present that are way past the opportunities we had in the past. If you just be a little bit more innovative, a little bit more creative, a little bit more flexible in how you think about things and how you think about opportunities, you would see how much more opportunities you actually have now than you did in your past. I say all these things to let people know that in this changing world that we have, changing dynamics that's moving rapidly forward, and the next generation is much sharper than we are, that in this changing world and this changing landscape, there is a balance we must strike. There is a balance we must strike. In order to have cultural diversity, we got to have cultures to start with. So you can't just destroy all the cultures that are there. So we're not saying get rid of the hillbilly, get rid of the country person, get rid of the white people. No, that's stupid. And the white culture as well. You don't want to get rid of those things. You want to keep them. We want you to celebrate them. We want you to showcase the best of them along with the other things that are there. And we can put it all together in a nice big soup and really put out something beautiful to the world. That's what it's all about. Nobody wants to see nobody's culture get absolutely destroyed. That is stupid. And I say this again because I think there's a lot of people who panic and stuff. And for instance, you know, the Confederate flag, for example, which symbolizes something bad, but at the same time, some people see certain things in it, certain aspects of it as good. You know, the rebellion, constant rebellion against certain laws which people think should be kept on the books, not just talking about slavery, but other things that it stands for. And again, I see the points that these people talk about concerning these things. I hear them. I can understand why you savor certain aspects of the Confederate flag. So again, I'm not against certain things happening, but it's just that I think that the celebration of it could be taken in the wrong way. And as a memorial, etc., you may not want to really put that thing up there all the time. And then we had in slavery, we had slaves who, quite frankly, when slavery was over, they didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have no more work. How they were going to sustain themselves? So they were asking, and they had a pretty good relationship with their masters who were like, "Master, man, can I stay on this plantation, work for you?" He was like, "Okay, if you want to, I'll pay you some wages and you'll work for me." And I'm just saying that you have to, you know, even though slavery was abolished, for some people, it was like hell for them because now they had to take control of their lives and deal with their lives. They used to get straight meals. They used to get their ass whooped and all of that, but they used to get meals. They still existed. And some people grew up on a plantation. They didn't know nothing about Africa and their homeland. So you have to understand that's the life they knew. They didn't know a better life, and they didn't know how to get to a better life. So there's a lot of things, a lot of equations to this thing that people have never told us about, which has led to where we are today. And the more we look and the more we see in the media and the more things are exposed, the more people understand the sort of the discrepancies between, say, for instance, certain minorities and the prevailing people. Even in my country, which is Trinidad and Tobago, where we have people who were born of slaves. I was not born of a slave. I don't think I was born of a slave per se. But I was born of indentured people who were working for other people. I wasn't born of a slave, actually. I don't know, maybe partially. I don't know. But as far as I do know, I you know, it's a long story. But anyway, point is, people were indentured or hired or they were in slavery or whatever. And then now these people had to figure out a way to take care of themselves. Even so, they lived in an exploited system for many, many years. It's only we became independent in 1962, okay? That's when we got our independence. And then we became a republic in 1976, I think it was, okay? And my point being, we were dependent on the crown, and the crown was exploiting us for many, many years. And even when we became our own boss, we didn't know what the heck to do because we were not quite sure how to go about doing things. And we're still trying to feel our way around even to this day. And they still call us third world. You know, some people have addressed us as a first world nation now. It's really funny because you got to understand, after you've been exploited by another system and another country, there's no time when you will actually have the full autonomy and power that you have, because you still have to have trade relationships with these people. And these people have been using you. We call it colony. We're still under the colonial system. We call the Commonwealth now. And it's really funny because when you really think about it, at the end of the day, you're still being manipulated. You're still feeling the repercussions of that. If you're not feeling the repercussions of that, and you're supposed to be addressed as an equal, then it would mean that you actually could form your own commonwealths and your own colonies if you had to. But the fact that everybody still pays tribute back to the crown of England to this day tells us a lot. Now, the United States of America was able to resist England, and they were able to get their independence from them in the 1700s, which is amazing. Okay, they were one of the people that broke the yoke, and they broke it hard. But even so, they haven't veered away from English. They still speak English. The crown still has an influence on them. And to this day, we have an American now in the royal family, right? All I'm saying to you that the people celebrate that. And I'm just saying to you, up to this day, that little island called the United Kingdom has still a lot of clout worldwide, including the United States of America. So I'm just saying to you guys, it ain't easy to overcome your history. I try to explain it to people, but that's why you have that sense of history, so you can at least understand what's going on. But it ain't easy to overcome your history. Balance of power will be turned once history plays a part in that. And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. They're like, 400 years you were in slavery. Slavery was 400 years ago. Yeah, it was 400 years ago. That's true. Doesn't mean that they don't have effects up to this day. Okay? I'm just saying. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you guys is sometimes you have to take one for the team. All right. Sometimes also you have to understand what it is, the trials you're going through, the afflictions you're going through, so that you can appeal to the Lord, so you can get the gifts necessary to overcome those afflictions. Because at the top of that affliction, up the top of that tower of affliction, is not only your salvation, but also the salvation of a whole bunch of other people. That's the whole reason why we have the afflictions. So I thought I would share that with you guys. I thought it's really a potent thing for the DCEU. I hope you guys have a great day. Share a good word with somebody today. Keep on sharing a good word with somebody today. Just in case you guys might want to check out the scripture, it's Psalms 119. Verse 153 and 154. You can use different versions of the Bible. Sometimes you can go to Bible Gateway, for example, and you can get a much more modern version. I read the old King James Version, so there's a lot of ye's and quicken me. Old language, quicken just means to make me alive. Delivereth, and this and that and thus. Old English stuff. And they even have older English in the 1960, I think it's the 1625 Bible or something like that. I can't remember what's the name of it. It's old English. That's thus thou doth. All right, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Have a good one now.